Welcome to Boulder Builders, where we explore the inspiring journeys of entrepreneurs, investors, and the visionary leaders building a better world. Join us for conversations on business innovation, investment strategies, leadership, and the forces driving success. Let's build something great together. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Boulder Builders podcast. Today is our first episode. I'm so excited to have my dear wife, my beautiful wife, Courtney Liu, here for this first episode.
Hi, everybody.
So Boulder Builders, the reason we named this podcast Boulder Builders is we love the city of Boulder. And the builders here, does not necessarily refer to construction rebuilders, but also builders of community, builders of a better and a greater life, a greater world, community, business, different organizations. Yeah. So I like this name. Yeah. So today we're going to share with you our family, our current family, our stories, and our career so far, and what we want to do, our visions and goals and for the future. Yeah. So let's get started.
Woo!
Yeah. So would you like to share with everybody about our family?
Yeah. So I guess it goes back to where we first met.
Yeah.
And we met in St. Louis at the Urbana conference.
17,000 people.
Yep, there's a lot of people. And we went with each of our schools. I went with the University of Kansas, and he went with
I went, it's the Pacific in California.
Mm-hmm. So from two different states, two different schools, we were in different tracks and learning different things from the conference. And he's telling me
I should share that story. So among almost 20,000 people, there's so many different small classes in the afternoon. And Courtney and I saw her in one of the small seminars, right?
Yeah.
So the topic was about doing missions in China. And I saw this beautiful girl asking some questions about going to China. And I instantly liked her already. And, I don't know what other people feel like, that moment I see you're such a beautiful girl. And then also you have a heart for God, a heart for, Chinese people. And I really instantly feel like the peace about you. So I really wanted to meet Courtney after that session. So she was asking questions afterwards, and I was waiting in line behind her. But I was debating if I should wait till this line. She asked the questions, and then I got to introduce myself to her. But I was debating if I should go to the next session. But also my school paid me to be there as part of the trainings. So I decided to go to the next session, actually. But I was kind of sad because, I kind of missed the opportunity to meet you. And then, but I prayed to God. I was saying, God, if you give me another chance to meet this person, it will happen. So guess what? In another 10 minutes, we saw each other. I saw her in another session. And we picked the same one again. So the chance of seeing another person again among so many people is really, really small, nearly zero, actually. So we're talking to different people after the second session. I was, having my sight on you, hoping to meet you in person after my conversation here. And then, but you kind of rushed to another place. I was like, oh, I miss her again. God, give me the second chance. I miss her again. So I was sad also, but I still prayed. I was saying, God, even though that's like nearly zero a chance to see this person again, but if you want to make it happen, it will happen. But also kind of disappointed.
Chinese people are really good at math.
So at the end of the day, night session, there was like different a booth that's praying for different countries. That one of the places were praying for China, and I was late to that session. And then right after I opened the door, she was there. The third time in one day among so many people, like almost 20,000 people. So so there was like 3 booths for praying for China, praying for Taiwan, for Hong Kong. People decided to kind of tear down the barriers and pray for, make a bigger group, and people are like, yeah, busy making those arrangements. I just went the street ahead to Courtney, introduce myself, or saying, "Hey, this is my third time seeing you today. Do you remember me?" And she said,
I said, "No, sorry, I didn't notice."
Yeah, so that was a really amazing story how I met her. It just to me personally is it's such a miracle to me, because God really make it happen, because the whole process was involved my personal prayers, my personal communications with God, conversation with him, talking to him and asking to give me another chance, and he did. So I'm really thankful, and I pursued Courtney for another 2.5 years. Even though that third day, I told Courtney, "Hey, you are the most beautiful girl I have ever seen. Would you be my girlfriend?" Yeah, the third day after I met her. So she said no, but I pursued her for another 2.5 years before we actually committed to a relationship.
Yeah, at that time I was committed to teaching and serving in China, and Justin, he came from the States, gave up his green card, gave up his work opportunities, and came back to China to pursue the relationship. And so then a couple years later, we got married in 2014. And here we are. We have 4 kids, ages 7, 5, 2, and baby 7 months old.
I'd like to share a little bit about, my decision making of going to China. So I always wanted to get out of China. Well, I always wanted to come to the States, have a kind of like a typical American dream back then, still now. But pursuing Courtney to China, going to China for her, or just have the more opportunity to get to know this person, for the relationship back then, to a lot of my good friends, was a risk to take, because they know I wanted to be in the States. But I told them, it's a risk I would like to take, and even if that means I couldn't get back to the States anymore, but it's so totally worth it. Her is more important than my American dream. But so to that, sometimes taking a risk is sometimes we have to do sometimes.
And I think that's something that stood out to me about him, was his determination and sacrifice in pursuing me.
Yeah, I really had peace about continuing to pursue her after God gave me a lot of dreams and visions about Courtney, about us. Yeah. Right. So we talk about our family, and then now we want to talk about a little more about what we're doing for as our career. Would you like to share first?
Sure. So I started a school out of our home in 2020, right before COVID. And it turns out that was a good time to start, actually, because when bigger public schools were closing down, we were opening up, and there was a need for kiddos to come to smaller groups. And so we filled up quite quickly. And then we've continued to expand and grow. And now we have about 21 kids across our program that's enrolled. And yeah, we have a vision to grow that school larger and bigger, and beyond just our home, into other churches and other locations around Colorado.
So what's unique about what you're doing, and what's unique about your school?
So our school is called Sojournings Academy, and our school has a big focus and emphasis on outdoor play and learning. And so we spend about 50% of the day outside in nature all year long and all seasons. And we actually live in the mountains in Colorado, and we can get feet of snow at times, and it can be pretty cold right now as we speak. It's like approaching 0 probably later this week. And also our kids have a really strong emphasis. We try to encourage kids to seek out their identity and how God has made them and who they are as a person. And we want to connect and inspire them to learn and grow into the callings that God has given them.
Some friends or parents once ask you a question, they really appreciate what you're doing in this school regarding, like the scientific side aspect of your teaching, right?
Yeah, we do a lot of STEM and hands-on learning.
Nature, right? Learning from the nature, learning about science. So, but also they're asking, why do you want Jesus or God in this picture? What would you say?
Yeah, so my response then and now is that Jesus is really the heartbeat of what we do. And, we give it our best shot, we give it our best effort, but really without his inspiration and joy and wonder and adventure that he wants to take us and each of the kids and families on, our efforts really fall short of what we can give to families. And so we believe that families deserve the best and they deserve excellence, and that is what Jesus brings. And it's something that happens naturally and organically, and we call it an organic apprenticeship with Jesus. And that's what we want to take kids and families and teachers even on this journey, sojournings, of journeying to discover God and discover themselves and discover the world, not just in school, but through all of life.
Yeah. Would you share, story that your story with God and what God spoke to you? Yeah, just a brief story.
Yeah, I think it goes back. One of my favorite stories is when I graduated high school, actually. And, graduating high school can be a big time of pivots, transitions, and choosing a new path. You're getting ready to choose your career, what you're going to study, what you're going to do in school, where are you going to go to school. And I was a Christian back then, and I was sitting on a rock outside, and I was praying, and I was asking God for direction about what I should do and where I should go to school. And honestly, I didn't feel like I heard anything, and I felt pretty stuck. And I was actually crying because it was a big decision. And I was like, what am I going to do? I don't know what to do. Oh my goodness, my world's falling apart. And then God reminded me of something. Like, this little picture went into my mind. It was a picture of my sewing machine. And I loved to sew growing up. And I had saved my money, worked really hard, and bought this $2,000 sewing machine. It was like top notch, the best sewing machine you could get. Had all these like special arms and things it could do.
High quality.
And, yeah. And I just felt like God speak to my heart. All of a sudden, he was like, so what do you do to take care of your sewing machine? And I was like, well, keep the dust off it. I change the needle if it breaks. I make sure it's threaded up nicely. It's fine-tuned so it can do what it's supposed to do. And God was like, well, you're my most special possession. And I gave my whole life for you. And don't you think that, like that sewing machine, like if something gets off course or something's not quite working right, or you're not doing what you're designed to do, that I'm going to come in and I'm going to make that right. I'm going to dust you off, rethread that needle, help you to perform your best and be who you were made to be. And I felt like in that moment, God was just saying, I love you. And I was like, yeah, God, I know you love me, but like, what am I supposed to do? And it just came down to that fact. He was like, as long as you know how much I love you, nothing else matters. And if you get off course, I'm going to come in, I'm going to fix it. I'm going to put you back on course and make sure that you're doing what you're designed to do.
I know you're going to share that story. You shared it before. I heard that several times, but I always love this story whenever you share it. Also, so, God spoke to you in kind of different ways, right? Give you a picture or speak to you. God, spoke to me through dreams. Yeah, so to a lot of my friends, Chinese or Americans, a lot of them who don't know God, they view Christianity kind of like just a feeling or religion, right? It's like, if you believe in there's a God. If you don't, that's kind of like a personal thing. So it's, for a lot of my friends, especially, it's kind of hard to believe like God speak to people this way, right? Or, what's your suggestion for those people who try to seek God or try to find where God is? What would you say?
I think that giving God space to answer, and quieting yourself enough to hear, because I think God is speaking through nature. He's speaking through books, speaking through friends, speaking through dreams, speaking through, little promptings in your heart or your mind. But really, it's just reaching out and just saying, hey, I heard about you. Are you there? It's kind of like giving a phone call to somebody in your time of need. Or recently we heard a good sermon from a friend of ours, Matthew Slaughter, and he was talking about how prayer is like a conversation with God, and being a good conversationalist is important, in a relationship, in a friendship, and also with God. It's really just opening yourself up and giving him a phone call, be like, hey, God, here I am. I want to know you. What's your name? What do you do? And giving him space to answer.
Yeah. So I grew, so just a little bit about my story on that question, actually. So I grew up in a Christian family, started going to church when I was 6 years old with my mom and grandma. But I did not become a believer until I was 21 when I was in a third year, a junior year in college in China. So before that, before I got to know God, there's no relationship with God, and I couldn't understand the Bible. My mom really wanted me to read the Bible. I feel, well, this is such a boring book, and like every time I read it, it really just put me to sleep. And every time, I just not really. I don't feel like relating to this book, what it's talking about, especially the book of Numbers.
And this
I
is
was
the
like,
math guy speaking. He doesn't like the book of Numbers.
Like, what's going on? And does not really speak to me, this book. And then there's one time I went to college fellowship. The pastor was calling for everybody to stand up if you want to let Jesus come to your life. He was saying right now Jesus is knocking the door of your heart. He's right here. If you just open your door, let him in, and he will show you who you are. He will show you who he is
and who you are.
Yeah. right. And I just didn't really hesitate, and I stand up. I saying, I want to know God. If there's a God, I want to know him. And so the pastor prayed for us. And then going back to my apartment in college, and then every time I read the Bible, I was praying. I was saying, "Hey God, if there's a God, I actually don't know. Honestly, I did not know there was a God or not." I was saying, "Hey, if there's a God, if you are there, if you're real, if you're true, you must be able to help me understand you. Please help me. If I cannot help myself understand you, you yourself, please help me, and you can do it if you're a God." Guess what? I started understanding the Bible right away. And then I spent like half a semester, going through the whole book. And then I just all of a sudden, just the whole process, God spoke to me so much about who he is, about who I am, about even a lot of like economic things that I couldn't understand, just gave me a lot of wisdom and knowledge. That was my story. And I was just saying, so right after I became a believer, I shared the gospel to many of my Chinese friends when I was in China. And there's one thing I always tell them: if you wonder about this God, you don't know really if he even exists, how about just do a simple prayer, ask him, "Hey, I'm open to you. Please show me who you are in my life." I think that'd be a great way for him to do his work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what's your plan for what you're doing for the school?
Yes, so we want to expand, grow, add teachers, and kind of empower teachers, empower families, empower kids to grow in who God made them to be.
Well, expanding requires some real estate. So that's what I'm talking about. I want to talk about on my part. So from this year, 2024, my plan is to buy a multifamily, to start investing to multifamily, either by our own money or financing or raise capital, different ways to buy multifamily, focusing on student housing across the nation, different college towns in the States. So that's my plan.
I think you're also passionate about education,
right?
And but maybe beyond the younger kiddos.
Right. It's more of like adult learning, mainly towards people who graduate from college already, or really never wanted to had an interest in going to college, but want to learn something more of a liberal art courses, like history, economics, psychology, and that kind of more general courses that could expand your knowledge and give you a general understanding. Yeah. So I took some courses in even history, like history, but I never majored in history. Those courses could be really helpful for me to understand what happened and to give me a lot of wisdom. Yeah, so I'm building this platform, recruiting world-class scholars, professors in the States, created courses. And I believe there's a gap in this higher education access. There's definitely so many more resources in this country, in this United States. This country has the most world-class professors, scholars, professionals, entrepreneurs, leaders in different fields. So I think there's so many resources here. So I want to have those American professionals create those courses, but also I want to translate into perfect Chinese and then have, hire Chinese professionals to do a voiceover to make it kind of like, accessible to Chinese people to kind of bridge the gap. I mean,
I was just going to say to bridge the gap.
I really care about education and think education brought me to the United States. And, a little more about that. My parents, not necessarily super rich people in China, but they made a lot of money compared to the average people. But they saved so much money. And even till I was, 23 years old, I came to the States. But since they had me, they started saving money just to have a vision to send me to have the best education possible. And even that means, that would cost so much more to send their kids to the States from China. Back then, 2000 back then, the American people's income still like 20 times of Chinese income back then. Yeah, so my parents definitely made so much sacrifice because they believed in education. And I know some people believe that or some people don't. I feel like education, if that the proper education, right, is kind of like the easiest way for you to acquire some level of knowledge and prepare you for a better career. So that's on my side. I mean, last year I launched my first investment fund into energy, oil and gas, partner with Aspen funds. Yeah, so I might still launch another fund to raise capital for amazing funds like Aspen, and also start looking to real estate, doing some analysis, buying multifamily apartments. The reason why I believe in real estate is that I believe in this country. I believe in the American economy. Real estate really based on if the economy is going up or not, and population moving in, people's salary, all those factors, and American, all those categories. And if you buy real estate in, say, like right now in China, it's a declining economy, then that won't work. So I think it's pretty straightforward, but there's a lot of practice to grow my portfolio. Yeah, so I think this is what we're gonna cover for today, and we're gonna have more episodes to you and to share a lot more with you and to grow this podcast. And we're gonna share our economic and investing philosophy. If you agree with us, we'd like for you to invest with us someday. Anything else you would like to say?
Thanks for listening.
Yeah, cool. It's so great to record with you.
Yep.
And we have a babysitter, and I thought it's so great to have my beautiful wife to come to the podcast and share our stories, share what we believe, and also sometimes that it's just a time, a space just to us with our kid to enjoy our own time, some quality time to record.
We'll see if they catch on or not.
Cool. All right. That's it for today.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Boulder Builders. We hope our conversation today inspire you to think strategically and build better. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with others who are passionate about making a positive impact. To learn more about Boulder Capital and learn how we are supporting innovative ventures, visit bouldercapital.co. Until next time, keep building and stay inspired.